Hey guys, welcome to Breaking View, and in this video I'm just gonna give a review on the Flash. So this will be more of a spoiler talk video. It's been almost a week at this point, so I mean, if you haven't seen it, too bad. But let's get into it. And this is just, I haven't been on YouTube lately, but it's one of those cases where I just want to make a video on it. This is a review also mixed in with my opinion on the DCEU and its, I guess, closure, whatnot. So first, the review. What do I think? I saw it with friends, and throughout the movie, I saw on the opening day of Friday. I saw it at night right after work. Went with a group of friends, and I had two who were big movie fans, and they grew up with comic book movies just like me. And honestly, it was a case where during the movie it was so cool to hear Michael Keaton's theme song, because yes, even though I grew up with the Christian Bale Batman, his Michael Keaton's theme song was throughout pop culture, including the Lego Batman games and the Arkham games I used to play as a little kid while watching the Christian Bale Batman, and it was so cool to listen to. And then obviously it's one of those cases where I guess it was an almost decently good film with an original actor from the original Zack Snyder verse, and it tied into kind of the Snyder world that Snyder tried to build with, Batman of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Wonder Woman, the original Suicide Squad cut, not the theatrical cut, but the original one before he got reshot, Wonder Woman, and his kind of Justice League. It tied into, Man of Steel, kind of showing when he's talking about his past and he's experienced, Superman and Zod fighting. He helped save the kid and whatnot. Obviously Ben Affleck is back as Batman, and we get Wonder Woman. I think the first time we get to see each other together in a while. And I know we had the Snyder Cut, but the last time we saw it theatrically was back in 2017. And I think the first time we got to see Wonder Woman and Batman together since Justice League in 2017, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, it was so cool when I saw those three on screen together. And I was like, what the heck, finally. And this and here's the thing, I've been reading all the leaks and rumors and everything leading up to this film, and I was aware of the reshoots that James Gunn was doing, and I was aware of the many reshoots they were doing. I saw set photos and everything, and then the movie happened. Right, the ending of the movie happened where you get to see the Christopher Reeve Superman universe. I grew up watching the reruns of that movie. I had the copy of that movie. I watched Superman Returns, even though it's Brandon Routh playing Superman. It's technically Christopher Reeve's version of Superman that ties in with that universe. I saw 1, 2, 3, 4 and Returns multiple times, and Supergirl multiple times. And seeing that cameo was cool. The Adam West, and then the Nick Cage cameo was so cool. And it's the thing where you have to be like a nerd to, not a nerd, but you have to know kind of the behind the scenes with Nick Cage as Superman, and stuff like the Eric Stoltz thing with Back to the Future. You have to know in depth about those things in order to kind of enjoy those references in the movie. So yeah. But I would say this, and it's the ending of the movie after he kind of changes the timeline to the original one. It was weird, because I remember after viewing the movie, I went online looking at reviews, and the Easter eggs, people put Easter eggs on YouTube the day of the movie's release. I'm scrolling through, and I remember the first set photos we get to see of Michael Keaton as Batman in The Flash and Sasha Kara's Supergirl in The Flash, and those set photos were technically the ending of the film. So they shot those two for the ending of the film before we had the George Clooney cameo. They were supposed to show it. There was actually 3.5 to 4 cuts, and I'll tell you the 3.5 cuts we had. So the ones we know for sure, based on the set photos, was version Sasha Kara's Superman and Michael Keaton's Batman. The second one was going to have obviously Michael Keaton and Sasha Kara's Supergirl, but on top of that, Henry Cavill's Superman and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, and they already had filmed it. This was, I think, around the same time where Henry Cavill also had shot his cameo for Black Adam right before its release date. So that's pretty interesting. And then the third one, which was shown at CinemaCon, it's the exact same ending we saw in the theatrical cut of the movie, except the part where it didn't have George Clooney come out of the vehicle. Like, it showed a figure coming out of the vehicle, but it was not a thing where it then panned over to George Clooney's face. That was not part of it, but the Flash's reaction was the same. And then we have the same one that we saw in cinema, the same one that people saw in CinemaCon, but with the added George Clooney cameo. I understand that it's just meant for like a gag, but it's confusing, and let me tell you why. So originally, before James Gunn, this was the original ending, having Sasha Kara's Supergirl and Keaton's Batman, and it was a thing where the reason I thought that was supposed to be the ending was because set photos first, and secondly, the Batgirl movie that apparently was canceled, that took place after The Flash in terms of the stories, and that movie they already had shot the movie, and they were in post-production and about to release it, I think within a couple months. They had canceled it in August and was supposed to release it in December of 2022. And Michael Keaton was like in the movie with J.K. Simmons' version of Jim Gordon from, the Justice League movie. And it was a thing where he was going to be the new Batman. And then it was a thing where it was going to be a new timeline, but then there was supposed to be a post-credit scene, not the Aquaman one, but another one where I guess Flash tries to warn Bruce to help him get back to the original timeline. And so, yeah. And it was the thing where like this Keaton version of Batman was going to be temporary in the new universe. But then when James Gunn came up, it came back. He decided to remove the Keaton Supergirl ending, decided to redo the ending where he sees George Clooney, which honestly doesn't make sense, because during the announcement of DC's the DC lineup that James Gunn did, he said that this movie, right when the reset happens, the new timeline would take place in DCEU, leading to the DCEU. But I'm confused because George Clooney is back. He played Batman in Batman Returns, which is the worst incarnation of Batman, which is not his fault, by the way. It was the script. But still, he's still the worst incarnation of Batman. Throwing that out there. Now, it's confusing. What you could have done is had the alternate ending with Keaton's Batman and Sasha Kara's, or whatever her name is, sorry about it, but that version of Supergirl. You could have done, I think, a couple of movies, because there isn't going to be any new movies coming out in 2024, any DC live action movies. So I would say this: what you could have done is release the Batgirl movie, release the David Ayer's version of Suicide Squad, and obviously Aquaman 2, Blue Beetle, obviously, and done a thing where you have led this into the Crisis of Infinite Earth movie, which they were planning to do, and then have that lead into like another movie, or within that movie do like a two-parter, so that this part two of that movie leads into the original DCU, and they have a closure to it with Henry Cavill's Superman, Ben Affleck's Batman, and the original Justice League members. You could have done that, like a two-parter movie of Infinite Crisis on Earth, right? You could have done that, like, you know, that would have been so much better, you know, because then at least what you could have done is delayed the movie, right? Especially the case where now there's a writer's strike. What James Gunn could have done is just wrote the movie himself, directed that movie, at least delayed Superman, the first DCU movie, Superman, to a little bit later, so that at least there's a closure to that universe, and people won't get, the average viewer won't get confused with the newer, the newer movies, because I know they're gonna bring back older, the same actors as their current roles in the DCEU, and what you have just done is explain that, you know, the Flash, the Flash movie kind of screwed up some things, so we were able to get closer to the original DCEU movie, but then because of the Flash timeline shenanigans, they ended up in the new universe. You could have done it that way, because I know there's going to be Peacemaker season 2, which will, I'm assuming, take place in the new universe. I'm assuming Viola Davis, you know, will be Amanda Waller and the new universe. And if you're going to do that, at least do like a closure to the original DCEU, but explain that because of the Flash paradox in the Flash movie, you can just have certain actors be the same. I don't know. That would have been a better idea. I don't know what James Gunn is doing. I know like a reboot makes sense, but I would have done some closure of that style, and pushed the movies a little bit further, just so that like you have enough time not just to do a Superman movie, but you can also work on like your other projects that are in the new DCEU universe, and kind of, in a sense, perfect not just the script but the overall project itself, just so that right when you start doing it, it'll be easy for y'all to kind of make a good story project. And yeah, that's just me, because I want a reboot, but I want to closer to the DCU, and I want to make sure that the new DC universe has, I don't want to say no bad films. Obviously, there's going to be decently okay projects, but I want to make sure that they are heading in the right direction, and the movies are amazing to the point that I guess people will forget about the old DCU, or would just, you know, use that as like, you know, a vintage, you know, oldie type, you know, timeline in a sense. What do I think of the overall DCEU? I think they were heading in the right direction with the original ending and the original, after credit scene, but I think James Gunn kind of ruined it. Like, people are complaining about the CGI. Okay, well, forget it. My issue is the reshoots, I guess, took a overall toll on the film, because we already had people like Tom Cruise praise it, right? But you gotta understand, people like Tom Cruise or other celebrities who had viewed it, remember, they had already seen the movie a couple months ago and said it was good. So I don't think they were looking at the theatrical cut the one we got. I'm assuming they got an older cut, because I know CinemaCon happened not too long ago, and obviously they didn't have the George Clooney cameo, and then people who saw an earlier cut of it saw a different ending and whatnot, which I assume Tom Cruise saw, and I guess he was praising the original cut, including Henry Cavill, who I'm assuming saw the original cut and praised that version before the theatrical cut happened. And I would like to see the theatrical cut because people were praising it, and obviously we had 3 different endings shot, which was the courthouse scene, but 3 different versions where it was like different characters were in it, and different versions of that character were in it. So I would like to see, kind of, in a sense, the version that people are praising on, honestly. So yeah, I would say this: finish off a DCEU, have a amazing closure to it, right? Do that way where after you release those 2 movies, right, Blue Beetle and the Aquaman 2 movie, because there's gonna be delay because of the writer strike, I would say this: delay Superman to at least 2026. I would say go as far as to release the original cut of The Flash next year, and then release the release the David Ayer version of his version of Suicide Squad from 2016, and then release, if possible, release the Batgirl movie next year, all within 2024. And within that year, you guys start filming, I guess, the Crisis on Infinite Earth movie, part 1, 2. Maybe have a 3-parter. Release the first one beginning of the year, the second one towards the end of the year, and then the third one towards the beginning of 2025. And 2024, when you release part 1 and 2, you've obviously filmed Superman, which will be the first DCU movie. You release that towards the summer of 2025, a couple months after part 3 of Crisis on Infinite Earth or whatever. Then this will give you a closure on that universe. At least it'll be a proper closure. Start a new universe, and with that you can also, I guess, do an Elseworld movie where, if you guys want to do a Nick Cage Superman movie, do other Superman projects that take place outside of the film universe. You can also do, I guess, like a Green Lantern movie that takes place outside of the universe. Obviously, we're gonna have the Matt Reeves Batman universe and the Joaquin Phoenix Joker universe that takes place outside the universe. But do other things like that, and then obviously this will allow you to kind of expand like the DC universe outside of the universe, and you can also expand it within the universe. And what you can do is have different takes of the same story. So for example, we had within the X-Men film franchise, we had before the time change happened in Days of Future Past, we had the Dark Phoenix storyline. After that, we still had the Dark Phoenix storyline, but that took place in the 80s or 90s or whatever. But if you do like an Elseworld thing where you have like a Superman origin story and then you do your own take on Superman, it'll be cool, right? Then you can have expand the Superman, I guess, universe in 2 different areas, and you can do the death of Superman in the universe and outside the universe, but have it be 2 different takes so that it allows for more creative freedom. And I guess you can just do 2 different takes and do it completely different in that way. That's how I would do it, just because then, like, at least what you can do is let's say if your version of the movie fails, you can get the good parts of the other version that you have in the Elseworld universe and put that into the sequel in your DCEU. That's what I would do. And it's just a thing where there will be more creative freedom within it. So yeah, that's the whole video. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button, share this video with everyone else, and yeah, have a great day. Here's a video from, I guess, Soups on his TikTok page. So it's gonna have a weird format, but if you listen to the audio, you would understand where he's coming from, and my idea is pretty similar to what he said on the video. So yeah.
Here's exactly how DC could have been saved, and I think this might have worked out a lot better. Now, my boy Daniel RPK cooked up this idea, and I just wanted to share it with the world. So with The Flash flopping at the box office, feels like all of the mistakes Warner Brothers has made managing DC has finally caught up to them. And I have full faith in James Gunn's plan for the future, but here's an alternative route that he could have taken that might have saved DC in a different way. So right before James Gunn was hired, Black Adam came out, and it felt like DC had a lot of momentum with The Rock talking up, giving the fans what they want, and bringing back Henry Cavill's Superman for the first time in a long time. But shortly after James Gunn was hired, and Henry Cavill had to announce that he's no longer Superman, which completely washed away any sort of momentum that DC had. Now in this fake alternative plan, Henry Cavill would have stayed as Superman, and they would have kept this scene at the end of The Flash. So instead of scrapping everything and creating the DCU, James Gunn could have tweaked a couple of things here and there, and still moved forward with the DCEU. There was an alternate ending that was filmed for The Flash where Henry Cavill's Superman, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and Michael Keaton's Batman all arrive at the courthouse to see Barry. And there was a deleted post-credit scene where Ben Affleck's Batman would contact Barry because he needs help and he's stranded in a different universe. Now this could have all built up to a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie that could have been the swan song for this Justice League and this cast of characters. Once that version of The Flash comes out, there's going to be a lot of hype behind DC, so you follow that up with Man of Steel 2 directed by James Gunn, and it's the happy, optimistic Superman that Henry always wanted to play, and you can even add Supergirl to that movie, so like that we could see that dynamic. At this point, you could have also done spin-offs to introduce the Authority, the Green Lantern Corps, exactly how we're still going to see them in the DCU. You could have also built out that other corner of DC with Swamp Thing, Gotham City Sirens, and a sequel to the Suicide Squad, which most people love. You could also do Shazam 3 to finally conclude that trilogy, where we finally see Shazam fight Black Adam, and Superman could join that fight as well. With Black Adam also having established the JSA, we could also get a spin-off movie for those characters, also adding Mr. Terrific, who we already know is coming to the DCU. Again, all of this is building up to a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie where we see this Justice League assemble for one last time. And once that's over, we see Michael Keaton's Batman return back to his original universe, and boom, we get a Batman Beyond spin-off that we've always wanted to see. Crisis on Infinite Earths is a massive multiverse story, so if you wanted a reboot after that just following a different universe called the DCU, you definitely could. Let me know what you guys think of this idea, because I thought it would have been a great way to build on the momentum that DC once had.